This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
Andrew, how close we were to seeing two Dallas sports teams playing for championships at the same time.
Yeah, and the Stars were the ones that dropped the ball. We sat here a couple weeks ago and I believe predicted that the Stars would be the ones to make it to their final rather than the Mavs, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, here we are with egg on our faces, but at least we got one of the two in, right?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, though, Jonah, let's get to what's on the show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
All right, disappointing as it may be, we have to head back out to Edmonton with Mike for more reaction to the Stars' season-ending loss in the Western Conference Finals. What went wrong for them in this final 3 games? Then after that, we'll preview the Mavs NBA Finals matchup against the top-seeded Celtics. And last but not least, we will keep that thread going with True or False, centered around this year's Mavs Stars. Jonah, that is what is on the show. Now, who is on the show?
Well, I feel like I have to say, what is the show? This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. I'm Jonah Javad, he's Andrew Cely, and there's Mike Leslie. Half of his forehead's cut off because he's standing too close to the camera. But we are live, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and we're going to go back out to Edmonton because Mike watched all of that unfold there in Alberta. That Connor McDavid goal, Mike, was that kind of the moment where we thought Game 6 just might go the Oilers' direction?
That was unbelievable. That was Connor McDavid at his brilliant best. I feel like Dallas played a decent game of hockey tonight. They were pretty sharp, even in the first period when they fell behind 2-0. Pretty good in the second period, very good in the third period, and yet had nothing to show for it until Mason Marchment finally scored for him there late in the third. They just could not solve Stuart Skinner, and that is a sentence I did not think I'd be saying at any point in this postseason.
Yeah, you mentioned that actually in Sports Special just before us, and I thought it was a good point. We did not expect Skinner to be kind of the X factor in this series at all. In fact, after the Stars got past the Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights, we thought, okay, the Oilers in theory are the weaker of those 3 teams. But when you got the best player in hockey, it's kind of like when you face the best quarterback in football, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. When you face those types of players, you really got to be something special to defeat them. And I thought the Stars really had the type of talent to do so, but man, the Oilers look really strong, Andrew. What was your main takeaway from Game 6 tonight?
The main takeaway is this is how they should have played over the last 2 games. I don't know where this style of play went for the Stars because they've shown it in bursts. This was essentially reminiscent of that Game 3 performance against Vegas in the first round where they dominated the first 2 periods and Vegas got 2 goals on kind of random chances in the second to force overtime in that one. The Stars took that one 3-2. It just boiled down to bounces, and they needed the aggressiveness to stay on the puck. Mike, I'm curious because we had a long discussion last night before this game unfolded. What was your takeaway from this? Did you get the sense that they were about to break through there late in the third period?
It felt like once they got one that maybe the dam would break, and it didn't end up working out that way for Dallas. I think we talked about Skinner and the impact he had on this series. I think it's obviously it's deeper than just Skinner, because a lot of what Edmonton did with their defensive structure in front of him helped to frustrate Dallas, and we saw them struggle to even get shots on goal in Game 5 back home, struggled to score in Game 4 here in Edmonton for the final 54 minutes and 31 seconds or whatever it was. And I think you combine the defensive structure that they had that was frustrating Dallas and keeping them on the perimeter with the fact that Dallas just kind of built up this kind of mental block of like, why can't we score? What is going on here? And then it gets in your head and it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. And as a result, they score a goal apiece in these last 2 games of the series and did not look like themselves offensively, certainly not from a result standpoint. And in Game 5 didn't look like themselves from a process standpoint either.
It is hard to overstate how difficult this road was for the Stars on this playoff run. Again, the last 2 defending Stanley Cup champs, the best player in the world, and if they had somehow overcome that obstacle, they had gotten the Stanley Cup runner-ups from last year. Still an incredible season for the Stars, though. We do still have one team from the area left alive. It is the Dallas Mavericks. Stay with us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show as we preview the NBA Finals next.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
The Dallas Stars come up short against the Edmonton Oilers in Game 6 of their Western Conference Final, 2-1. They fall short of the Stanley Cup final again, 4-2. The Rangers won the rubber match in Miami 6-0 thanks to a dominant performance from Andrew Heaney on the mound. They've now won 5 of their last 6 games. And the Dallas Wings fall below 500 with an 87-76 road loss to the Minnesota Lynx. Sports Show. Time now to talk about the last Dallas team standing, the Mavericks, preparing for their 3rd ever appearance in the NBA Finals in their first against a team not named the Miami Heat. They drew the top-seeded Celtics, and Jonah is thrilled about that, at least because of the location. Jonah.
That's right. I actually grew up about 15 minutes away from the TD Garden, so be able to make a trip home, if you will. And so we've got a new guest, not a guest of the program, a guest tonight, I should say, Nick Angstadt from Locked On Mavs. Yeah, I think he's I guess we got you on retainer because you're here every week, Nick. But as the Mavs season keeps going, you keep joining us, and that's okay. We love to have you. I want to lead it off with you, Nick. So many storylines entering this series against the Celtics because the history between the Mavs and C's and the players on each roster. Which storyline excites you the most?
Oh, man, there's so many. And, yeah, the Mavs don't want me to take a vacation, Jonah. That's kind of what it is. So I'll just keep coming back as long as they keep in it. But the storyline to me, it's got to be Derek Lively. I mean, Derek Lively has been absolutely amazing in these playoffs. You look at a guy that they drafted in the lottery of the draft. And at the time, we had a conversation on Locked On Mavs. Could he play in the G League? Could they start him slow? Will he be part of the rotation? And he has stepped up into not only a rotation player, a starter, a closer, a playoff player, a playoff closer, and he is now what we would call a 16-game player, where you can expect him to play and to contribute in a 16-game potential finals run and finals win at that point. It is amazing to watch what he has become for this Dallas Mavericks team, and then also think about what he's gone through in his personal life as well, going through all that with losing his mother earlier this year. It's been absolutely amazing, and his story is only going to get spread farther, and I cannot share it enough.
3rd most important player on the Mavericks, I think that's fair to say. Maybe not the 3rd highest scorer, but most important. And we saw that. He didn't play in Game 4. They lost Game 5. He comes back. They win and win the series. Mike, which storyline stands out most to you?
Honestly, Jonah, I feel like if the Dallas Mavericks win this series, Luka Doncic will be tabbed as the greatest player on the planet right now. That's the stakes for Luka in this series.
I would argue that he already is.
That.
No? Yeah.
But if the Mavs win this series, though, it stamps it. Okay. That's what he's got before him right now. The playoff run that he's had, yes, to your point, has at the very least put him seriously in that conversation with 1 or 2 other guys. He may already be at the top of that mountain. An NBA Finals win makes it a slam dunk. He is having a terrific postseason. What's interesting to me is he was so banged up through that Thunder series, and we thought, because there wasn't a whole lot of time between the 2 series, that he'd continue to kind of struggle with the injuries. He was great in the West Final, all the way through. So now you give him a week off, that's dangerous for Boston.
Fine, I'll be the one to take it. I think Kyrie facing the Celtics and facing a Boston fan base that does not like Kyrie is so juicy. I mean, listen, if you don't know much about the history, we don't have enough time to cover it on one singular show, but there is some bad blood between them, or at least mostly on Boston fans' ill will toward Kyrie. So him going back there, the boos are going to be unbelievably loud. But we know with this Mavericks team, and Kyrie in particular, he loves to rise to the occasion when that's the case. Nick, I want to go to you. Celtics specifically, get to know your opponent a little bit. This is the best team in basketball throughout the year. Give me their number 1 strength and their number 1 weakness.
This Boston Celtics team has an incredible ability to hit threes. They just bomb from deep. In the regular season, when they shot over 39% from 3, they went 38-1. 38-1 in the regular season. They absolutely dominate from 3. They're 11-0 in the playoffs when they hit 13 or more threes. They can hit threes from anywhere. They have so many different players. All top 8 of their rotation players all take 3 or more threes a game, and they all shoot really well from 3. So the Mavs, kind of in a similar way to the OKC series where they had to limit the amount of threes that the Thunder took, they have to do that same exact thing to Boston. That has been their huge strength. And then they have 2 guards that are on the all-defensive team in Derek White and Drew Holiday. Both those guys have been great. play. They're going to be guarding Kyrie Irving probably a lot. They'll be switched on to Luka Doncic, and those guys are going to have a big task against the Mavs backcourt.
This entire playoff run has kind of been determined by matchups, which team faces which at which time of the year. And it certainly feels like the Mavs have been on the better side of that because they've faced either bigger teams or guys that couldn't stay with the smaller guards like Luka and like Kyrie. Well, they're going to have their hands full against a much better Celtics defensive team that actually defends around the perimeter. They can't just rely on drawing Rudy Gobert out from there. However, we still got a lot left to talk about because I got to test these guys' knowledge on the Mavs when we come back. True or false? Stay with us on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
And now it's time for True False, sponsored by the Fort Worth Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. It is time for a little True or False. We already know Nick Angstadt is locked on the Mavs, but how well does Mike's big head and Jonah know this year's team? Let's find out with a little bit of a softball right out of the gates. True or false? Kyrie Irving's middle name is still Andrew.
Wait, is still Andrew or is
No, still is not part of it, but it is still
Okay.
Andrew.
I thought we had like a meta world peace situation.
Well, that's kind of the question. Has he changed his name?
I mean, I know he refers to himself as Gila, but I don't think he's legally changed it.
That is fair. I just wanted to make sure everyone was still reading the media releases that come out occasionally with pronunciators and all that. His actual name is Kyrie Andrew Irving, further proving that Andrew is the best possible name. Anyway, moving on. Our next true or false.
Kyrie's still Andrew Irving.
There you go. Our next true or false here. Kyrie Irving used to play the saxophone and trombone growing up. What do you think, guys? Jonah, your thoughts? So he's saying false. Nick, where do you stand?
False. I have no idea.
Can anyone truly play an instrument? Doesn't it just flow through you? Is that like how that works?
Well, if anyone would, it would be Kyrie Irving, whose mother was classically trained in piano, and he also has a great voice. By the way, if we can go to the answer here, the answer is true. He did play both of them, and the clue should have been he plays so well, it's like jazz. It's like free-throwing jazz. Come on, guys. You got to be ready for that one. Anyway, let's move on. Number 3 here, true or false? Derek Lively II credits swimming for his coordination on the court. Mike, I'll ask your opinion here first. What do you think?
Absolutely no chance. This is an Andrew Cely, I'm a swimmer question. I can't imagine 6'10" Derek Lively swimming.
Jonah, are you siding with him on this?
Yeah, I don't recall swimming being his back. I could be wrong here, but I don't recall that being one of his.
And Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, this may be some groupthink between the three of us here, but coordination to do what? Like to go one arm in front of the other? Like I just don't.
Well,
I don't see where the.
So this is actually true. Judging by an interview he conducted with a number of people, he does in fact credit swimming for it. And another reason why you should have thought about this: Tim Duncan famously was a great swimmer, so it runs in the power forward family. Anyway, let's move on to our 4th one now. True or false?
Neither are power forwards.
Gafford.
Anything to bring it back to swimming with Andrew Cely.
True or false? Daniel Gafford pulled double duty as a member of the marching band and as a wideout in high school football. Nick, what do you think?
I'll go true on that one. That's a big target.
I'm just going to go true because I want it to be true.
Yeah.
Okay. You got 2 trues. Jonah's here with false. And for the first time, Jonah is correct here on the actual questions. I'm not counting the softball. It was indeed false. He was in the band, but as he claims, he was on the football team for 1 year and couldn't catch. So as a result, he stopped the whole thing. He was actually more focused on
now
band
he's
as a
catching
kid.
lobs everywhere.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's kind of what I thought when I heard it. I was going, what do you mean you don't have hands? You're catching nothing but great passes from Luka now. But he played bass clarinet.
Sounded like that was true, though.
Huh? No, he claims it's false because he didn't play football well. He held himself to a higher standard. And he also never played on a game where he was also in the band. It was kind of that weird middle ground, I suppose. Anyway, let's get to what I think is might be the best of these. Jason Kidd featured on a rap song in 1994 on an album titled B-Ball's Best Kept Secret. Nick, what do you think here?
I think this is true. I'm pretty sure I've heard this.
I'm hoping it's true, because if it's false, then that means Andrew came up with, quote, B-Ball's best secret. And I just
Do we have the rights to play this?
I don't want that to be the case.
Come on now. Come on. I feel like that's
You know what, Jonah? For that reason, I might be inclined to go false because Andrew would come up with that.
Dang right. Unfortunately, I did not. This is in fact true. A number of NBA players got together for, I think it was a 12 or 16 track album, including Shaquille O'Neal, including Dennis Scott. The song itself is not good. I do not recommend listening to it. But that's a reason why he's the coach of the Mavs, not a future rap artist. I suppose the best way to put it.
Oh, we were so close. Yeah, B-Ball's best kept secret. Man, song titles have changed dramatically over the last 30 years. All right, we've got a few minutes left. I want to talk a little bit more about this matchup. Kristaps Porzingis looks like he's getting healthy and could potentially play starting Game 1 Thursday night. Nick, how much of a factor do you expect him to be, assuming he suits up?
I have no idea because even when he plays, the Celtics have a better record when he doesn't play than when he does. His on-off numbers are not that great. I mean, it's like a couple points here or there. He has played less playoff games in his career than Derek Lively has.
Which is amazing.
This is Derek Lively's first year in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so we have no idea what he's going to look like in a finals game. I mean, we all can expect what we've seen from Porzingis in the past, but this is also a different Porzingis than we've seen. This is a Porzingis that can post up and take advantage of smaller guards on post-ups and mismatches and things like that. He's been hitting his threes, and he's been hitting deep threes, which he didn't do a lot in Dallas. And so he's a little different player, but we just really don't know what to expect from him because he's never been here before, and he hasn't played a lot of playoff games.
The Celtics, I mean, you spoke about it earlier. I mean, just phenomenally good at home, best home record since 2016. But as a whole, this is a team that is loaded with guys who have played in the finals. I mean, their whole rotation outside of Porzingis has been to an NBA Finals before. The Mavericks, I think it's just Kyrie and Markieff Morris who played in the Mickey Mouse bubble championship with the Lakers. What is that face? It was a Mickey Mouse championship.
No. There's no asterisk on it. In fact, it was arguably the most competitive basketball we'd ever seen at that point.
Just because Mickey Mouse was on the premises doesn't make it a Mickey Mouse
Exactly.
championship.
Jonah, you just drew him offside with that
I
one.
want to know. All right, listen, we're getting away from the point, but that is the point of the show. These are two teams that are totally different when it comes to finals experience. Mike, how much of a factor do you think that's going to play when it comes to Luka Doncic and the rest of the Mavs supporting cast outside of Kyrie?
I mean, we've already seen it play a role in these playoffs on the positive side of the coin for the Mavericks against the Thunder, against the Timberwolves. They had the experience of going on at least that one deep playoff run. At least Luka had that experience. There weren't a whole lot of holdovers from that 2022 roster, but at least Luka had that experience to draw on that frustration from the 22 West Finals, to draw on and push them to where they are right now. So we've seen it work to the Mavs' advantage so far in these playoffs. I do think that there's at least going to be an element of that plays into this series. Whether that's too much for the Mavs to overcome, I don't know, but I think you are going to see that, maybe especially in the first game or two of this series.
And Nick, final question for you. If the Mavericks are to win the NBA Finals, how are they going to defeat the Celtics? What sort of weakness can they exploit possibly? Because Boston's really good, really good.
They defeat the Celtics by staying big. I think their bigs have to be a big part of it with Lively and Gafford. They can't get into the trap of playing Maxey as the small ball 5 for 30 minutes a game or something like that. Luka and Kyrie, I think, either have to be the 1-2 best players in the series or 1-3 best players in the series. Kyrie has to have a good series in order for that to happen. And the Mavs defense just has to hold up. They have to hold up, and I think they have to force the Celtics away from all these threes and to make them take really contested mid-range jumpers that I think you can bait them into taking.
All right, Nick Angstadt from Locked On Mavs. Mike Leslie, he's with us here at WFAA. Thanks for joining us, guys. Mike, safe travels back here to Dallas. Nick, I'll see you in Boston, I'm sure. All right.
Time now, though, for Jonah's final take.
All right, so you know how in football they play this entire game and then it sometimes just comes down to a field goal? And that's the deciding factor.
Yeah, no worries. I'll go grab.
Special teams, right? Special teams. Shouldn't matter. But it does. Hockey's the same way. Special teams matters. And in this series between the Stars and the Oilers, it came down to special teams. The Oilers scored 4 power play goals of their 5 total goals in the last 2 games that ended the series. The Oilers were the best power play team in the West all regular season. They've been the best in the entire postseason. By like 46%, they're scoring on the power play. Special teams matters, and that's why the Oilers are going to the Stanley Cup final, and the Dallas Stars are not. Andrew, I'm still bummed. I would have loved to see it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, this has been a remarkable run. This was literally history in the making. It's the 5th time one building has hosted 2 finals ever. And I think that's, again, it's tough to reconcile in the moment, but it is something that this community and these teams can hang their hat on with how well they played this season.
And remember, not all Stars fans are Mavs fans, and not all Mavs fans are Stars fans. So if you're not a Mavs fan, you're a Stars fan, tough night.
Hop on the bandwagon.
They're still a great team.
We've got room. Hop on the Mavs bandwagon.
And the Mavericks start Game 1 Thursday night right here on WFAA. We are Jonah Javad, Andrew Cely. This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.